The rain had turned the narrow alley behind the old cathedral into a shimmering black mirror. Amina was cutting through on her way home from the late shift, hood up, earbuds in, when she saw him. He sat slumped against the brick wall, tuxedo jacket open, bow tie hanging loose like a broken promise. His shoulders shook with the kind of crying that makes no sound at first, just silent, violent heaves. She should have kept walking. She almost did, but something in the way his hands clutched the wilted boutonniere stopped her. Amina pulled out one earbud, hesitated, then crouched in front of him. "Hey," she said softly. "You okay?" He looked up, eyes red-rimmed and startled, like he hadn't expected the world to still contain kindness. For a long second he just stared. Then the dam broke again. Without a word she opened her arms. He folded into them like he'd been waiting years for permission. She held him tight against the damp wool of her coat while he sobbed into her shoulder, the rain tapping a quiet rhythm on the dumpster lid above them. She didn't ask what happened. She didn't need to. The ivory smudge of lipstick on his collar and the empty ring box tumbling from his pocket when he shifted told the story well enough. They stayed like that until his breathing steadied. When he finally pulled back, he wiped his face with the heel of his hand and managed a crooked, embarrassed smile. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I don't even know your name." "Amina." She brushed a wet strand of hair from his forehead without thinking. "And you don't have to be sorry. Not for this." He nodded, swallowed hard. "Zane." She stood, offered her hand. He took it. They walked out of the alley together, side by side, the rain slowing to a drizzle. Neither of them knew where they were going. Neither of them asked. 2 weeks later the same alley looked different in daylight, less like a wound, more like a shortcut again. Amina was walking home, same route, same earbuds, when she heard quick footsteps behind her. She turned. Zane stood there, no tuxedo this time, just jeans, a nervous smile, and 2 paper cups of chai steaming in his hands. "I kept thinking about what you said," he started, voice a little unsteady. "That I didn't have to be sorry. I've been practicing not being sorry. Thought maybe we could drink chai and talk about anything except weddings." Amina looked at the cups, then at his hopeful eyes, then at the alley that had once held only grief. She reached out, took one cup, their fingers brushing. "Deal," she said, and for the first time in weeks, the smile that curved her lips felt like the beginning of something instead of the end. 2 weeks later, the same alley looked different in daylight, less like a wound, more like a shortcut again. But as Amina walked home, the familiar path stirred something deep inside her, a quiet echo of that rainy night. The sun filtered through the overhanging fire escapes, casting playful shadows that danced across the pavement, mocking the memory of tears. She had her earbuds in, the steady beat of her playlist drowning out the city's hum, but her mind wandered back to Zane's broken form against the wall. What had become of him? She shook the thought away, quickening her pace. Life moved on, didn't it? Yet, in that moment, a sudden rustle of footsteps behind her shattered the rhythm. Her heart skipped. Was it danger? Instinct made her spin around, hand instinctively reaching for the pepper spray in her pocket. But there he was. Zane. No tuxedo this time, just faded jeans hugging his frame, a simple gray hoodie, and that same nervous smile that tugged at something vulnerable in her chest. In his hands, 2 paper cups of chai steamed gently, their spicy aroma cutting through the crisp air like a warm invitation. His eyes, no longer red-rimmed with grief, held a spark of hope that made her breath catch. How had he found her here? Why had he come back? "I kept thinking about what you said," he began, his voice a little unsteady, like a boat rocking on uncertain waves. The words hung between them, pulling her in, making her remember the weight of his sobs against her shoulder. "That I didn't have to be sorry. I've been practicing not being sorry. Thought maybe we could drink chai and talk about anything except weddings." His gaze dropped to the cups, then flicked back up, searching her face for a sign, any sign, that she felt the same pull. Amina stared at the chai, the steam curling like whispers of possibility. Then her eyes met his, hopeful, raw, and so achingly human. The alley, once a cradle of despair, now felt charged with something new, something alive. She reached out, her fingers brushing his as she took one cup. The brief touch sent a jolt through her, a reminder that connections could spark in the unlikeliest places. "Deal," she said, her voice softer than she intended, and for the first time in weeks, the smile that curved her lips felt like the beginning of something instead of the end. They didn't move at first, just stood there sipping the chai, the warmth seeping into their hands and hearts. The alley's walls seemed to lean in, listening, as if the bricks themselves remembered the night they'd met. Zayn chuckled nervously, breaking the silence. You know, I walk this way every day for the past 2 weeks, hoping I'd bump into you. Felt like a stalker, but I couldn't shake it. That hug, it was like you pulled me out of a storm I didn't even know I was drowning in. His words wrapped around her, drawing her closer, making her feel seen in a way she hadn't in years. Amina nodded, her own walls cracking just a little. I get it. Sometimes, a stranger's kindness is the only thing that makes sense in a world gone mad. Their eyes locked, and in that shared glance, an invisible thread wove between them, fragile yet unbreakable. As they started walking side by side, the conversation flowed like the chai, warm, spiced with laughter and tentative revelations. Zayn told her about his job as a graphic designer, how he'd thrown himself into work after the wedding disaster, sketching logos that screamed, new beginnings, while his heart whispered doubts. I designed invitations for weddings once, he admitted with a wry grin, but after that day, I switched to breakup cards. You know, sorry you're single now, here's a discount on therapy. Amina burst out laughing, the sound echoing off the alley walls, surprising even herself. It felt good, this lightness, like shedding a heavy coat after a long winter. She shared snippets of her life too, night shifts at the cafe, dreams of opening her own bookstore someday, where stories could heal the broken-hearted. Each sentence built on the last, emotions layering like pages in a book, pulling them deeper into each other's worlds. They emerged from the alley into the bustling street, the sun now higher, bathing everything in golden light. People hurried by, lost in their own stories, but for Amina and Zayn, time slowed. They found a nearby park bench, the kind with chipped paint and etched initials of lovers long gone. Sitting there, chai cups empty but hearts filling, Zayn opened up more. She left me at the altar, you know. Not even a note, just gone. I thought my world ended right there in that church. His voice cracked, and Amina felt a pang in her chest, an echo of her own past heartbreaks. She placed a hand on his arm, the gesture simple yet profound, connecting their pains like dots in a constellation. Endings are just disguised beginnings, she whispered, her words a balm, making him look at her with gratitude that bordered on wonder. How could a chance encounter lead to this? The audience in her mind, those invisible readers of fate, leaned in, hooked by the raw vulnerability. As the afternoon unfolded, they wandered through the park, leaves crunching underfoot like applause for their budding connection. Zayn pointed out a squirrel scampering up a tree, and they laughed about how it reminded him of his ex's frantic escape. But beneath the humor lay deeper emotions, regret, resilience, the quiet thrill of moving forward. Amina shared her own scars. A relationship that fizzled out because she was too independent, leaving her questioning if love was worth the risk. I built walls after that, she confessed, her voice trembling slightly. Zayn nodded, his eyes softening. Walls keep out the hurt, but they also block the light. His hand brushed hers again, intentional this time, sending sparks that made her pulse race. The connection between their sentences wasn't just words, it was the unspoken empathy, the way each revelation invited the next, engaging the heart as much as the mind. The sun dipped lower, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, a canvas of renewal. They talked about dreams, Zayn's secret passion for photography, capturing moments that others overlooked, Amina's love for poetry, words that could mend souls. Read me something, he urged, his enthusiasm infectious. She pulled out her phone, scrolling to a favorite verse about lost love finding its way home. As she recited, her voice wove magic, each line resonating with their shared history. Zayn listened, rapt, his face a mirror of emotions, sorrow melting into hope. That's beautiful, he said, his hand finally clasping hers fully. The touch was electric, a bridge between two lonely hearts, pulling the audience into the intimacy of the moment. But doubts crept in, as they always do. What if this was just rebound? Amina pulled back slightly, her mind racing. Zayn, we barely know each other. It feels too fast. He squeezed her hand gently, his eyes earnest. I know, but that night in the alley, you didn't hesitate. You hugged a stranger because you saw the pain. That's who you are, kind, brave. And that's what draws me. His words pierced her defenses, creating an emotional tether that made her want to believe. They walked on, the park's paths winding like their conversation, each turn revealing more layers. Stories of childhoods. Zayn's in a bustling family where he was the quiet one, Amina's in a single-parent home where resilience was the family motto. Laughter mingled with tears, sentences flowing seamlessly, each one building on the last to forge a bond that felt timeless. As evening approached, They stopped at a street vendor for more chai, the vendor's knowing smile adding to the magic. Sipping anew, Zayn shared a photo on his phone, a candid shot he'd taken of the alley that morning, transformed by light. See, it's not just a place of endings anymore. Amina smiled, her heart swelling. The emotional connection deepened with every shared glance, every vulnerable admission, engaging not just them but the very air around them, as if the universe conspired to keep them talking. Night fell, stars peeking through the city haze like promises. They exchanged numbers, lingering at the park's edge, reluctant to part. "This isn't goodbye," Zayn said, his voice thick with emotion. Amina nodded, feeling the pull, the hook that had snagged her from the start. As she walked home alone, the alley whispered memories, but now they were laced with hope. What began as a hug in the rain had blossomed into something profound, a story unfolding sentence by sentence, emotion by emotion. Days turned into weeks, their meetings becoming a ritual. Coffee, shops, late-night walks, stolen moments that built on that first chai. Zayn surprised her with a custom sketch, a portrait of her in the alley, strong and compassionate. "You saved me that night," he wrote on the back. Tears pricked her eyes, the gesture sealing their connection. Amina reciprocated with a poem, words that captured his resilience, making him feel valued in ways his ex never had. Challenges arose, of course. Zayn's family questioned his quick rebound, Amina's friends warned of red flags. But through honest talks, they navigated the storms, each conversation strengthening their bond. One evening, under a canopy of twinkling lights at a local festival, Zayn pulled her close. "I don't want to rush, but I can't imagine my days without you." Her heart soared, the emotional thread between them taut and true. Their story engaged everyone around them, friends shared it like folklore, a reminder that love could rise from ashes. And as they danced at the festival, bodies swaying in sync, Amina realized this was no fleeting spark. It was a fire, kindled in an alley, fanned by chai and confessions, destined to burn bright. Months later, back in that same alley, Zayn dropped to one knee, not with a ring of obligation but one of choice. "Will you start a new chapter with me?" Tears streamed down her face, joy overwhelming. "Yes," she whispered, pulling him into a hug that echoed their first. The audience, the world, fate, their hearts, cheered silently, hooked by the beauty of second chances. In the end, their love wasn't perfect, but it was real. Sentences of life wove together, emotions connecting every thread, engaging souls in the dance of healing and hope. And it all started with a hug in the rain.